Could this possibly be the best new sub-team for the G.I. Joe Classified series? This is the Iron Grenadier of Iron Grenadiers. Now here's the thing though, we already have a Iron Grenadier figure in the lineup. Metalhead, and he was a divisive figure. I loved him personally because I loved the original Real American Hero figure of him as a kid, and that love continued to the classified upgrade. But there was one particular problem, and that was you either had to have the blast effects on the missiles or none at all. But the style was there, and this Iron Grenadier is carrying on that black, gray, and red tradition, although we are taking it way back to the very first waves of the G.I. Joe Classified series and adding gold accents as well. Because that was a thing in the early couple waves, if you remember. I already see some very impressive details on here, so let's get him out of his cardboard box and get a little closer look. Holy accessory kit, Batman. Look, he even has a big giant machine gun that you can't even see in the box. That is impressive inclusion. The fact that there is so much accessories with this that you have to hide it in the box, that's a good sign of things to come. Here is the main figure out of the box. The helmet doesn't come standard on it, but I had to put it on immediately. There is a Kylo Ren style mask along with some metallic red that kind of reminds me of Iron Man a little bit. There is definitely some Star Wars, some Marvel influence with this Iron Grenadier, and let me tell you, it is looking phenomenal already. If we can get a little bit of movement on the head, and it has like a good up and down. The side to side is, I wouldn't say the best, you just get a little bit of wobble. It looks like the helmet doesn't stay on too great, so that is just something to be aware of. I'm gonna put this with the other accessories for the time being. And let's just move him as we do all of our figures so that we get a sense of the crunch with the elbows, and that looks like a great range of motion there. And when we work up with the elbows, that is a nice T-pose style, and there is some flexibility back with the butterfly joints. The front range of motion with the butterflies aren't as great, and so now we look at the torso, and he clicks into place. Good ab crunch right there, and you would think that this bandolier or this sheath, this sash, is going to impede some of that movement. It's really not, and the way that they did the T-cut on the ab crunch, the buttons move with it, so it looks fairly natural. I'm really impressed with this so far, and we need to move to the lower half of this. We are going to get some limited movement when it comes to doing the splits because of the way that his coattails are. This is molded soft plastic. It is not soft goods. And if we want to, we got to see what that knee looks like, and that is phenomenal. We have a really great posable figure for as fully detailed as he is. There is some limited movement when it comes to kicking out the legs, but I think considering everything that we've got here, I am really liking the Iron Grenadier. When it comes to the accessories, we have the sword and scabbard here. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, it's got a golden blade. Let me try to get that focused. It has a golden blade on that, and the paint application on that looks really well done. I don't see any scratches or dings on it, even though it has a little bit, but again, it is not that noticeable. We also have the touches of gold on the handle, as well as the point of the scabbard. We also have just a standard sidearm, very futuristic looking blaster with a bit of gold paint on top. I believe that one was from the original Destro, which is one of the few early wave G.I. Joe classifieds that I don't have. We have this double-barreled machine gun, and if you are curious, yes, the magazine does remove. We also have this big giant machine gun. There is a bipod. Let's see how easy this is to kick down. This is not the most confident I felt in a tiny piece on some G.I. Joe classified accessories, but it does look really good. That is molded red plastic, and then on the ammo box, that is painted red plastic, and then on this side, we have our brass gold ammunition feeding into it. A lot of great attention to detail. We will get a closer look at the helmet. There is a nice detail with that blade on top. The Iron Grenadiers are just fun. So I think what I need to do now is take this guy over to the desk, get him into some cool poses, try out his accessories, and I'll let you know some of what I liked, what I didn't like, and of course my overall thoughts. Now that I've gotten a very thorough look at the Iron Grenadier, here are some of my thoughts. What I absolutely love about this figure is the attention to detail. There are belts, buckles, All kinds of different textures, paints, all working together to create a very menacing looking Cobra figure. The Iron Grenadier is absolutely laden with weapons, and this strap that goes across the body also houses one of the more advanced or sci-fi looking blasters, but it's also pegged in so that it doesn't slop and slide around on the figure at all when you're posing it. And when we're talking about the design of this figure, we are getting inspiration, as I've talked about, from Kylo Ren, we're getting it from Marvel, and not only is the Iron Grenadier very classic looking when we compare it to the real American hero version, but it definitely has the classified series updates that we know and love and come to expect from this G.I. Joe line. A couple things that I would have liked to have seen changed is the fact that the scabbard here doesn't stick very well into his waistcoat. It is a clever system to have this waistcoat flare out a bit, but it interferes with the scabbard and makes it very difficult to stay put when you're posing him up. My recommendation to you would be to remove it, pose him, plug it in, remove it when you're ready to reconfigure the pose, and then do it all over again. It's a mild inconvenience. However, I feel like there might have been a better way to accomplish all of this. And the fact that the back peg is already being used by this really cool strap, which means I don't have a whole lot of flexibility when it comes to the scabbard and the sword. But ultimately, you can put all of the weapons on this figure and display him as such, which is impressive considering how many accessories you get in the box. Now, another thing that I would have liked to have seen changed is just a little better fit on the helmet. It was a bit finicky, and I feel like the helmet is the better option for this character. Now, I do understand that this is a troop builder, so having the hat off, having the hat on is a great way to designate rank if you have a bunch of these in your display. However, I would have liked to have seen maybe one less giant machine gun in the box and just have an alternate head sculpt to attach in a little more secure fashion. And when I did put the Iron Grenadier next to Metalhead, our other Iron Grenadier in the series, they did look good, although you can tell there is a slight difference between some of the colors within Metalhead and the Iron Grenadier. However, I can tell that it feels like the idea of the Iron Grenadiers has evolved since Metalhead, because we also have the Iron Grenadier bat to look at, but that'll be for another video. And one thing that I really didn't like is the waistcoat being this plastic. I would have loved to have seen this been soft goods because it would have given us more flexibility, more range of motion when it comes to posing up this character. I understand why it is the way it is, because it does look visually great together to have this all be like a leather or some kind of futuristic material on the character, and having cloth on that would break up that look. But the issue, of course, comes when you want to move around the knees and when you want to get the legs further apart to give better stances. It just makes it a little more difficult to work with. Overall, my thoughts on the Iron Grenadier character is that this is a fantastic entry into the G.I. Joe Classified series. It is a menacing looking Cobra figure. I think it pulls from classic villains of history to make a very scary looking evil character that fits right at home with many of the other Cobra characters. This guard type character with the long sword is kind of an interesting thing to see evolve in the G.I. Joe Classified series. Of course, we have the Crimson Guard, the Twilight Guard, and now we have the Iron Grenadier, all holding on to this very, very old school sword, in addition to having a full and modern, also futuristic, loadout of military weapons. So when we look at Metalhead and now we look at the Iron Grenadier from the Iron Grenadier subline, I feel like this is going to be one of the best sub-teams within G.I. Joe Classified. I think there are some highlights in Tiger Force. I like a lot of the Night Force characters for the G.I. Joe team. I'm not too crazy about the Python Patrol from the Cobra team, so to have the Iron Grenadiers be so well done, it is exciting to see how this evolves and continues to grow in ranks. But not only that, but the gold paint applications harkens back to the very start of the G.I. Joe Classified series, which is something that a lot of people didn't like, but I always had a taste for. So it's great to see this going back to some of the origins of the G.I. Joe Classified series while continuing to push it forward, as well as making it familiar. If this is the figures we have at the end of 2024, 2025 looks to be even a more exciting year for G.I. Joe Classified series. And if you want to keep up with G.I. Joe Classified series releases, I talk a lot about them, as well as action figures, pop culture, cool toys, as well as blasters. Anything action related, you can expect to see it here. So you know what you gotta do. You gotta hit that like, comment, share, subscribe, bell for notifications, whatever button it takes to get more videos, because I think you're gonna like what I have coming up. That's all I know about the Iron Grenadier from the G.I. Joe Classified series. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.